Well, it must be obvious to you that I'm not like these women.
Oh, I'll give you that much. At least the others are honest with themselves. You're all in here for breaking the law, Paige. I don't see much to choose between any of you.
I don't see how you can say that. I'm nothing like them.
No, you're not alike. At least the others accept each other for what they are. You, on the other hand, are so convinced that you're a cut above them. It's no wonder you're having trouble.
But
In fact, I'm surprised you haven't had more. Now, cut the chatter and get your things together.
Look, Mrs. Davidson, she's a real pain in the neck.
Behaving in a very childish way, Burns. To the best of my knowledge, she has never done anything to you personally.
Yeah, but she gets on my wick, that's all, and it's not just me. Everybody hates her.
And so you thought that hitting her would solve it?
Well, she's so flaming la-di-da, and she's been talking down to us ever since she got here. She's no better than us.
I understand how difficult...
Well, she talks to us as though we're dirt or something, and I thought a good thump would bring her down a peg or two.
I've had just about enough of this, Burns. There is no excuse for violence.
Well, she deserved it. She's a bloody bitch.
That is enough. Obviously, I am not getting through to you. Perhaps some time in solitary will.
Excuse me, Mrs. Davidson. Detective Inspector Grace is on his way over. About the hit-and-run accident, apparently.
Oh, yes, thank you. Would you take Burns to solitary, please?
Yes, of course. Come on.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes, sit down, please. This is about the hit and run?
Well, I think it's a little more than that, Mrs. Davidson. The body's been identified as Kathy Hall.
Hall?
And she was just released today, I understand.
Yes, that is correct.
Who would have known when she's being released?
Well, just about everyone, I expect. Her friends in here, the staff, just about everyone. It wasn't kept a secret.
Anyone outside today would have known when she's being released?
Well, only Lizzie Birdsworth, but I hardly think...
Would she have known precisely when she was getting out?
No, only the staff and myself have that information.
Any of the staff outside today?
Yes, but I hardly
Now, look,
think
Mrs.
that
Davidson, this has been a setup. Someone outside knew that Hall was coming out today, knew her movements, and therefore they are involved. That makes it accessory to murder. And in cases like this, no one's above suspicion, not even a governor of a prison. Do I make myself clear?
Perfectly.
I intend to interview everyone. Now, who's the officer that's outside?
Vera Bennett.
Oh, you should have heard her. She really believes all that stuff about being better than us.
Yeah, I know, bloody ratbag.
Still, you gotta give Fletcher's due. He wasn't too impressed. He sort of stood up for us in his own way.
Where are you off to, Doreen?
The pound.
Oh, God, what for this time?
Oh, it's that bitch's fault.
Which one in particular?
Stuck up bloody Paige. She reckons I tried to bash her.
Oh, now, come on, Mr. Harrison. You know Doreen's not into that.
Yeah, and even if Paige did deserve it, Doreen would never do that.
Look, don't talk to me about it, ladies. All I know is that she is going to solitary.
On the word of that creep.
I really don't know anything about it. Now move it, Burns.
Oh, they can't wait to get me out of their hair because of all the excitement about the accident.
What accident?
Oh, seems there's been a hit and run outside the prison, I think. Somebody must have copped it.
Wouldn't be anyone we know by any chance.
I really wouldn't know.
Well, I just thought being right outside the prison, it might be someone from in here. Someone who was just released, if you know what I mean.
Come on, Burns. It's not a social gathering.
Oh, all right, you don't have to talk.
I'll do as he says, Doreen. You don't want to cross him.
Now, Mrs. Davidson, I need to know about the relationship Hall had with the other prisoners. I mean, is any particular prisoner have a grudge against her?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just came to take Burns back.
Mr. Harrison's taken her to solitary.
Right.
Mr. Fletcher, just a minute. Suppose you know why I'm here?
Well, no, not really. I heard that there was a bit of an accident outside the prison.
Woman was killed. Kathy Hall.
Good God.
Now, why is Burns going to solitary? Has that got anything to do with Hall's death?
Well, I don't see how. There was a bit of trouble between her and a new prisoner, that's all.
Oh, who's this?
Her name is Alison Page. This is her first time in prison.
What sort of trouble between her and Burns?
Well, it wasn't only Burns. She was disliked by most of the other women.
She has the attitude that she's better than everyone else and lets them know it. That's her main problem.
Yeah, well, she just got everybody's back up, that's all. I think the women's reaction was pretty normal.
I see. There was no connection between her and Hall, then?
Well, yeah, there was a connection, but I don't think it's relevant.
I'll be the judge of that.
Well, Hall and Burns did attack her once, but
So
as
there was a connection?
Yeah, but as I said, it was a pretty normal reaction. I'm not saying that I
What
agree
about
with
Hall?
Well, I got the impression that she was trying to stir up as much trouble as she could.
Oh? When was this?
Just before she was due to be released.
I see. Well, now we are getting somewhere. Obviously, she didn't want to be released. least she felt safer inside.
It would seem so.
Now, look, can either of you think of any particular grudge that anyone would have had against her?
Well, there was the electric jug incident.
We thought it was just an attempt to frighten her.
Electric jug? Well, I did hear about that. Perhaps you could explain to me now, Mrs. Davidson, why no official report was made about that.
I've already answered that. We assumed it was just scare tactics. These things do happen.
An attempt is made on a prisoner's life, and you think it's a practical joke?
Well, we thought it'd be better
Thought what? Not one senior officer in this place thought of putting in a report about it. Well, now the woman's dead. Doesn't say much about the people running this place, does it? Right, well, the first two I want to speak to are Burns and the Page woman.
Well, Burns is in solitary at
Yeah,
the moment.
say you said. At least she won't be able to talk to the other prisoners and cook up some story before I talk to her, will she?
Are they the only two you want?
No, I want to speak to the lot of them. Lock them all up and I'll talk to them one at a time.
Well, I don't think that's really warranted. Most of the women would consider that unfair treatment, and I would agree with them.
It doesn't really matter to me, Mrs. Davidson, what the bloody women think. I think you've got your priorities mixed up.
Now, look, I realize you have a difficult job to do, and I will cooperate as much as I can, but I will not be dictated to.
You have some objection to my questioning all the prisoners?
Of course not. But once you get their backs up, you can expect very little cooperation. In my opinion, you're going the wrong way about it.
Your opinion hasn't exactly been infallible lately, has it? Now, I'll run this investigation any way I see fit.
And I will run my prison the way I see fit. You are welcome to interview the prisoners, but it will be on my terms and not yours.
You're being obstructive.
Not at all. You are welcome to interview anyone you like, as long as you understand that I am in control. If that is not satisfactory, I am quite willing to discuss it with your superiors.
All right. That's the way it's got to be. I'd like to speak to Doreen Burns, please. If you have no objection, of course.
Open up, please. Inspector Grace would like to interview you. Doreen, this is Detective Inspector Grace. He'd like to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, what about?
Well, to begin with, how well did you know Kathy Hall?
What do you mean dead? Sounds like she's dead or something.
Just answer the questions, will you?
If you're going to ask questions about somebody who's dead, I want a lawyer here.
There's no need for that.
Oh, yeah? Think I'm dumb or something? I know how you cops work. I'm not answering any questions about anything.
That's a stupid attitude, Burns. You're just making our inquiries difficult.
Oh, that's your problem.
You realise that withholding information is a criminal offence?
What are you going to do, put me in jail?
Well, just tell me what you know about Kathy Hall.
You're not listening to me. I said I'm not going to say anything without a lawyer here.
If I don't get the information I need, I'm going to have to question again, and you'll be first, and you can have 10 bloody lawyers here.
I haven't done anything.
Well, tell me what you know about Hall. Come on.
All right, ladies, shut down the machines. I want you all to go back to your cells.
Oh, what's up, Mr. Fletcher?
You ought to be locked into your cells temporarily. Nothing to be worried about.
Come on, hey, why? What for?
I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to tell you. Now move back to your cells.
This wouldn't have anything to do with Kathy Hall, would it?
Look, Smith, I'm simply carrying out orders. Now I suggest you do the same. Now move it.
Okay, ladies, you heard the man. Let's go.
Page, this is Detective Inspector Grace. He'd like to ask you some questions.
I'm sorry to intrude on you like this, but Kathy Hall, an ex-prisoner, has been killed. Now I've got to find out as much as I can about it.
How awful. Well, I'll help you all I can, of course.
Good. I can see you're not like the other prisoners.
Well, I don't know how much I can tell you. I had very little to do with her. But I did hear the others talking about her, of course.
Can you tell me who she had most contact with?
Well, I saw her a lot in the company of the ringleaders, I suppose you'd call them.
Do you know who that might be?
B. Smith and Judy Bryant and Doreen Burns, of course. As a matter of fact, Doreen and Kathy attacked me. They actually knocked me about for no reason at all.
Yes, well, there's no accounting for some of the prisoners in here, is there? What about Lizzie Birdsworth? Did she have much contact with Hall?
Oh, Inspector, surely you're not suggesting...
I'm not suggesting anything, Mrs. Davidson. It's just